Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. It's Thursday, which of course means we have a new lap time challenge inside of GT7. Now a lot of the latest online time trials have featured road going vehicles, however we are going back to race cars for the next 2 weeks with this one, featuring the Subaru WRX Gr.4, and to add a little bit of spice to it all, we are doing this in wet conditions only. So here is an overview of the brand new lap time challenge. This one takes place at Fuji International Speedway on the Short Layout. Of course features the Subaru WRX Gr.4, a 4-wheel drive Gr.4 race car, and in terms of the event itself, as I mentioned, it takes place in wet conditions. So here are the extra details of the online time trial. As you can see, top 3% will get you a gold and 2 million credits. Of course, as always, top 5% will then get you silver and 1 million credits. And then top 10% will get you bronze and 250,000 credits. Of course, the track is Fuji on the Short Layout. Entry period is the 20th of Feb until the 6th of March. Usable tyres and types of racing intermediates and wets only. You will only need the intermediate tyres for this one. Wide body prohibited and nitrous prohibited. Of course, regulated car is going to be the Subaru WRX Gr.4. BOP is mid-speed. You can use a garage and event specified car. Car settings are specified, track limits are normal, and shortcut and wall collision will invalidate times. Okay, so let's kick things off then with general tips and tricks. This is where I give you tips and tricks for the overall lap time challenge. Now, let's begin then. Typically, I will always tell you to turn every single assist off for an online time trial. That is because most of the cars just get insanely bogged down when all of assists are on, or even just a few, and it is the exact same here. However, it is worth noting that we are in tricky intermediate conditions, so if you must, just put at least one on the traction control. Don't overdo it, or once again it will incredibly bog the car down. I do fully recommend having them off though if you are confident enough, because the car is super easy to drive, being 4-wheel drive. Now again, because we do have the added complexity of intermediate conditions bordering on full heavy wet conditions, I do fully recommend running a manual transmission. Automatic here is an absolute no-go. Having that extra control over your car, especially in the tricky conditions, and being able to short shift whenever you do so wish, is absolutely a must. Now the next tip also refers to the weather itself again, and that is that a lot of the really wet patches sit on the side of the road, so where the curbs are and where the apex is. It may mean that you might have to change up your typical racing line to get the best lap time possible. Again, sometimes you'll find yourself braking, you'll hit a wet patch, and then you're basically a passenger in your own car. So just be aware that at the side of the roads on your typical racing line, there's more than likely going to be a huge buildup of water there, and you do want to avoid it. Next up, if you want to go ahead and boot up a replay before you enter this, you can go ahead and do that before entering the event. Head over to the global rankings and click play replay. This way you can learn the best lines and best gearing for each corner. Next up, if you're actually in the event and you want to load up a ghost, head over to global ranking once again and load it from there. So next up, let's move on to the car then. This is tips, of course, centered around the vehicle we're using, which of course is the Subaru WRX Gr.4. Now this is of course a Gr.4 race car. It is 4-wheel drive, has 377 brake horsepower, and weighs around about 320 kilograms, which is pretty heavy for a race car. You know, there is a lot of road cars in game that weigh a lot less than this. Now in terms of the car itself though, it is incredibly stable and does have great acceleration. Maybe not the best overall top speed though. The car itself is absolutely fantastic in the rain. Now another thing to note is that the car can feel quite heavy and quite bulky through some of the lower speed corners. Again, it's just due to the weight of the car itself. If you're comparing this to a Group 3 variant as such, which are a lot more lightweight by around about 100 to 150 kilograms, this car can feel like an absolute chonker. Now in terms of the car itself, it will try and kick out if you put too much throttle on straight away. So bring the throttle in nice and gently and the car should be absolutely fine. Overall, it is a relatively easy car to drive even in these intermediate conditions. Next up, it's time to move in to the lap itself. Now this is going to be my fastest lap at the time of making this video, however it really wasn't the best whatsoever. There's probably another good second I could shave off here. Now first to note is that you actually want to brake for turn 1 in the middle of the track. If you brake towards the left, the car's going to get really upset by the puddles and more than likely carry straight on. So brake in the middle, bring yourself out to the left and then go into the apex. As you can see on exit, you want to be short shifting. Don't over rev the car because again it will start spinning up the tyres and try to kick out the rear end. Then we have this left hander here. Brake between the 150 board, then go ahead, get into the left and go up onto the curb on exit. Again, whilst the track limits are on, you can really run a few of the curbs around Fuji here. Now for the right hander, keep it into third, kick it up to fourth. As you can see, it did upset the balance just a little bit, and get ready for another tricky section. Bring it over to the right and brake quite hard. As you can see, I take it into second, I do catch it on the curb and the rear end kicks out. I then short shift to third on the exit of the corner and once again go up nice and wide on the curb for stability. After this, you've got some flat out right handers, so continue on down the road and keep your eye out for the Dunlop sponsorship sign. I typically use this as my braking area, so as my rear end crosses it, I'll then brake, go into third gear, and then once again, because we're on the short layout, you don't have the really tight right hander. Now, this is where it gets really tricky, and it's perhaps my weakest sector on the entire track. First up, we have the right hander, and as you can see, I don't hit it quite right, and it just puts the car a little bit out of the way to really where I want it to be. We'll then once again head right to the left, brake quite early, and then head all the way to the left hand side. Now really, in reality, you want to get it on the inside of this corner, which I just miss, and then run up onto this curb. Again, this is another pretty wide runoff area, and get ready to do the same for the final corner. Dip it into third, get on the inside, shift up to third, and then go right out on the runoff strip. I know for a lot of people, myself included, that final sector at Fuji is one of the most notorious and painful parts of any track in the game, and like I said, it is just incredibly tricky through there, so that is where I'm losing most of my time, and I can probably gain a good second overall. But there we go, that is my original lap time done and dusted. So certainly not my best online lap time challenge lap time, I guess, but in terms of the event itself, there's definitely another good second to kind of shave off here and there. I think if I can get that final sector nailed, that's going to be at least 7, maybe even 8 attempts through there, as well as around about turn 1, I seem to be losing a bit of pace there, just trying to get the car turned in correctly and get the braking right. It can be incredibly tricky with these conditions, but I fully recommend sticking this one out. Now when it comes to the lap time challenges, I do want to take a bit of time to just quickly apologise that I didn't do last week's featuring the Porsche at Alsace. Of course, I was kind of moving and stuff like that, so by the time I got around to being actually able to kind of record that video, or would have been able to do the lap time challenge, it would have been almost irrelevant. There'd have been thousands of guides up at that point, so I kind of just gave that one a miss. But these will definitely be going back to weekly now. Thank you so much for watching, and a big thank you to all of my channel members listed on screen. I'll see you in the next one. Take care guys, peace.